I worked as a lawyer for over 20 years, and then I grew my law firm to over $5 million in 5 years. If I had to give advice to my 20-year-old or 30-year-old self, these are some of the ideas that I would hope that I would learn as a young lawyer, avoiding some of the things that I should not have done. So I guess as they always say, it's better to learn from someone else's mistakes. One of the most important things as a young lawyer is to meet new people. Lawyers in your own firm, if you're at a large firm, they're not always going to be at your firm. So if you have good friends, people that maybe go to lunch with, a couple times a week, people that you connect with and, talk over at the water cooler, if there still are water coolers, those kind of people might move on to other firms. They might go out on their own, and there's going to be a time when they're going to need somebody that has your specialty. So if you're a litigator and you're a great litigator, or you're a trust and estates lawyer, real estate lawyer, or corporate lawyer, whatever your specialty is, you're going to be different than other lawyers out there. So if one of the lawyers that's a good friend of yours at this firm now goes on to another firm, goes out on his own, or actually goes in-house, sometimes, they graduate to going in-house, becoming general counsel or associate general counsel. And those lawyers are going to have issues or concerns or questions. And they're going to reach out to their old friend from their old law firm. And there's some kind of sort of boot camp mentality to young lawyers coming out. First of all, you go through law school. That's a bonding experience because it's grueling. It's tough. The teachers ask you questions. They put you on the spot. And then you're studying for the bar. Right? So you go through the bar exam. I still have friends to this day that were friends of mine because we sat next to each other at the bar, just studying for the bar. We went to classes, I think 2 or 3 times a week, and we studied for the bar together. So it was just, you never know where your friends are going to come from. And by the way, so one of those guys that I used to sit next to, he is a construction lawyer. That's all he does, construction law. And so I've had the opportunity many times to refer business to him. That's a very sort of a niche practice. They always say there's riches in the niches. So he had a niche practice. He's an expert at it because it's all he does. So very frequently I had a need for a client that needed that kind of lawyer, or I had other lawyers that needed that kind of lawyer as well. So there's great opportunities. So my point is, be friendly, be nice, be personable, and be helpful. You should have they call it a servant attitude. You be there to serve, whether it's your clients, whether it's your colleagues, even truthfully secretaries. I was very helpful to my secretary, whenever they had to do things. If I could do it for them, I'd be happy to do it. Because obviously if you're doing favors for people, they're going to appreciate what you're doing. They're going to like you and everything else. And by the way, you never know, again, that secretary might go on to another law firm, might go on to another job, be completely out of the law whatsoever, but somehow where her friends, she might need a lawyer. So again, just being a nice, personable person, helpful, and always trying to help other people. So meeting people outside of the firm, it's important to go to networking events, get involved in your community. If you go to your synagogue, your church, or your mosque, and just be personable and be friendly, be helpful. And my suggestion is, don't be trying to sell people. Just go out there and just be a good person. Be a favor, then you should try to help them out. And if you can't, let them know that you can. But by the way, more often than not, you can. If you don't have the knowledge or the experience, there is somebody that in your network possibly that does. And so you could always reach out to them, ask them the question on behalf of your friend or your colleague, and then get them the answer. And then you become the go-to person, because every time I ask the guy a question, he finds an answer. It's things that are not in his field at all, but he gets me an answer, gets me a document, gets me a form, a template, or whatever the story. So always being able to deliver is a phenomenally great thing for you. And on that point, it's not necessarily helpful to, if you get a question on trust and estates, so you don't do trust and estates, so you pass it on to a trust, and you tell the person who asked you the question, contact this person, he's a friend of mine. So that's good. There's the whole discussion we'll get into when you give people a referral. But now that person, if they have any other questions, they're going to go back to the person you just introduced them to. They're not going to go back to you. So you're not going to be what I call the gatekeeper. It's much, much better for you to be the gatekeeper. A lot of times, and this happens with sort of less sophisticated clients, but you might be a real estate lawyer and you might have helped somebody in a real estate closing, buying and selling a house. And all of a sudden they get into a bind, they get into a traffic accident, they get into, some other kind of situation. They think lawyers do everything. So they will call you, their real estate lawyer, even though they got into a car accident. So the opportunity is to become the gatekeeper. Now you can refer that person to a personal injury lawyer. Maybe your firm handles that kind of stuff as well. So I'm saying, if you make that sort of handoff to another lawyer at another firm or otherwise, that person becomes the go-to person. That person becomes the gatekeeper. So my strong suggestion is to maintain the client relationship or the prospect relationship and help them any way you can. It takes a little more time, obviously, for you to go to your friend and ask them the question and get the answer and then go back to the prospect or to your friend that had the question. But I think that kind of additional service, that additional investment of time pays off tremendous dividends in the long run. Because, by the way, your friend that called you with that question, other people are going to ask that person, hey, I have a question about X, Y, and Z. And they say, well, I don't know, I have no idea, but I got a guy that seems to always have the answers, right? And so that person now is going to call you. It's just a great way to get in the habit of helping people. Just a quick aside, when I joined Greenberg Traurig as a young associate right out of law school, our receptionist also did floral arrangements. So even though we had a florist in the bottom floor of our building, I bought all my floral arrangements from her. So for Mother's Day, for anniversaries, for birthdays, for Valentine's Day, whatever the occasion was, I would buy the arrangements from her. And of course, she appreciated that. Because she's probably doing something she really loves to do because it's a side gig, but I'm obviously putting more money into her pocket, so she appreciates that. So because of that relationship that we had, when she would get a phone call for, the general law firm, just says, I need a lawyer, she would actually send that call to me. So I was this first year associate at, one of the largest and best law firms, and I'm getting all these, leads, these referrals. And if it was a litigation matter, I didn't do litigation. I was a corporate lawyer. So I would call up the litigation partner or associate and say, I have a matter for you. But I was the one who goes in the books as the originating attorney. So it happened a lot. And by the way, there's this thing called the halo effect, right? So if you are a good student, your teachers, when they see a statement or a number on your test or whatever else, they will assume, gee, this guy's a good student. He's a smart guy. So that 7 maybe is just a 1. Maybe that extra line is just a mistake, or his pencil, went too far, kind of thing. They will try to give you the benefit of the doubt, which we all should be giving people the benefit of the doubt. But my point is that there is this halo effect. So the point is that you create your future today. Meaning that because I set up a reputation in my firm as early on as bringing in business, bringing in new clients to the firm, I got certain privileges as a young associate that other young associates wouldn't have. The firm sponsored tables at events for me, for my contacts, my friends, my groups that I was involved with, my chamber of commerce or whatever it was. So there's all these things cost money. And as a young lawyer, you might have the money to sponsor a table for $1,000 or something like that. But my firm knew that I was doing very good things in business development. So they assumed that I would be continuing that. If I asked for $1,000 for a table for 10 people at the Hispanic, Law Association dinner, they assumed that was going to be a smart investment because I wouldn't be wasting their money or my time. So I'm just saying, so those things that you do early on, they sort of echo, and they could really set your entire career path that way. So again, one of my strong suggestions is when you meet people, have yourself a 15-second or a 30-second, sometimes they call it an elevator pitch. So if you introduce yourself to somebody in an elevator, so you have by the time the door is shut till the time the door is open at the next floor or the next exit. So you want to have a pitch, hi, my name is Keith. I'm a corporate securities lawyer. I work for blank firm. Clients come to me when they need a new contract, right? So something very broad, because almost everybody needs a new contract sometime, right? So the contract could be for anything. And I'm a contract lawyer, so I can really do anything that has to do with a contract. So you want to be broad, and also you don't want to be too detailed because, I'm a securities lawyer. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what that means to a lot of people. So have your 15 or 30 second commercial, just it being nice and friendly. and make it clear that, a lot of opportunity for people to contact you if they need help. You're there to help them. Don't be selling. I was on a lot of boards, and people knew who I was because, when you just introduce people, or sometimes the chairman of the board might go around the room and everyone, the chairman might introduce you, or you might introduce yourself. So people want to know what you do, but that's all you really need to do. You don't need to constantly be selling yourself. Just try to help people, be there for other people. And regarding referrals, when you have an opportunity to send business to another professional, doesn't have to be another lawyer. Lawyers are, an easy example. Again, if you're in a firm that only does litigation, you're going to have a great opportunity to send business to real estate lawyers, corporate lawyers, transactional lawyers. And again, there's different kinds of litigation as well. There's insurance defense lawyers. There are personal injury lawyers. There are intellectual property lawyers. So there's lots of different lawyers that if your firm only does one sort of thing, one little niche thing, you're going to have a great opportunity to send business to other lawyers. And of course, those lawyers are going to have an opportunity to return the favor and send you business. But it's also other professionals. A lot of clients need insurance agents, right? They need insurance for life insurance, health insurance. They might need insurance for their property insurance. They might need malpractice insurance. There's different kinds of insurances, and all those different people are opportunities for you to send a referral to that insurance person. Investment insurance, people, stockbrokers and those kind of things. Now, obviously they sell it for insurance as well. There's almost every client needs an accountant. They have to have somebody do their taxes. And truthfully, you could even recommend that if they're doing their own. But so accountants are great referral sources, and they're dealing with clients that are also potential clients for you. I mean, any accounting firm has lots of clients, and every once in a while, that client, one of their clients, if they have 500 clients or 1,000 clients at that accounting firm, one of those clients probably once a week is going to need some kind of service from a lawyer. Whether it's, I'm buying a business, whether I'm selling a business, I'm hiring a new employee, so I need a contract. There's just great opportunities for those accountants that you just sent a referral to, for them to return that favor to you as well. Of course, there's, other kind of, service providers out there that if you're providing some referrals to them, they should send referrals to you. Now, my practice, which I also recommend, was I would recommend 3 professionals in that industry. If somebody needed an accountant, I would recommend 3 accountants. And I would send a message to the accountant that so-and-so might be calling you, or sometimes I send an introductory email, with both of them on the email. But I would also let the accountant know, whether it's in the email or a separate private message, that I recommended you and 2 others. I want the client to choose who they get best, get along best with. And that's important, because if you make a single recommendation and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, that client's going to be mad at you. Why'd you send me that insurance broker? I can't believe I spent so much money on that insurance. If I would have called someone else, my friend told me he got insurance at half that price, whatever the story is. But if you give them 3, then it's really their choice. You sort of vetted good people that you know and trust, and you should definitely only be sending people to people that you know and trust, because you do not want to lose a client or a friend because of a referral that you just did just because you want to get something back. So again, you want to have this mentality of serving and have the habit of helping and serving other people. So the point is, if you send them to 3 different people, they're the one making the choice. And by the way, as you can imagine, in everything you do, right, whether it's your hairstylist, your pest control guy, whatever it is, there's some kind of connection relationship you have with that person. If you're sitting there for 15 minutes while somebody's cutting your hair and you're schmoozing and talking, whatever else, if you don't like that person, right, maybe your politics are different or whatever else, you're not going to be enjoying that haircut as much as you otherwise would. Sometimes people enjoy going to their barber and just schmoozing and talking and what's up? I haven't seen you in a month, kind of thing. And, I know my wife spent the same hairstylist for probably 30 years, and they catch up. How are your kids doing? What kind of stuff. And she probably wouldn't go somewhere else. So the point is, if you send somebody to a professional that they don't click, they don't connect, that's not a good referral. Sending it to 3 people, there's a greater chance, obviously 3 times, that they're going to find somebody there that they like, that they enjoy. One thing that I always tell people is that when people have something in common, I'm originally from Philadelphia, so I'm a Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, and Eagles fan. If I see somebody else who also is a Philly, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles fan, I immediately have a positive connection with them, right? I give them the benefit of the doubt. I like them initially. At a festival last week, I was wearing a Phillies shirt and a Phillies hat, mostly because the Phillies right today, the time of filming, are the best team in baseball. And I I was at this festival and two guys walked up to me, one guy wearing a Phillies hat, the other guy wearing a Phillies hat and a Phillies shirt. And they said, "Go Birds," which is a signal for "Go Eagles," the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was just funny because it threw me off because I was looking at his Phillies and I figured he would say "Go Phillies," right? Because we're both wearing Phillies. But anyway, the point is, we immediately smiled, we fist bumped, whatever else. So we had that connection, a very positive connection, because that's going to bring the person, closer to you. People want to do business with people that they know and trust, right? So the fact that you both went to the same high school, right? Or both grew up in the same place, or you both went to the same college, or you're both in the same profession, or both enjoy, like the same teams. Now, again, here in South Florida, where I'm from, most people like the Dolphins, the Marlins, the Heat, and the Panthers, right? So it's easy to have that kind of a relationship with the locals. It's the easiest, to have the most predominant team down here in South Florida. But by the way, some of my best friends are Knicks fans, Mets fans, or Giants fans, right? So you play up for that as well. You have this sort of rivalry, and if you keep it at a very friendly and fun way, you give them a dig when your team beats their team, and you take it on the chin when their team beats your team, right? But now you have this kind of fun relationship, and they like beating up on you when your team is losing, and you're going to enjoy beating up on them when your team is beating them. So there's a lot of reasons to have a connection and a great way to connection, to bond with people and connect with people. And the more people are like you, the more you trust them, right? If they've gone through your experience, if they've, when people talk about, I went to Iceland and wow, what a beautiful country, right? So that connection, it reminds them of their great experience when they went to Iceland, all the waterfalls and all the amazing things they saw in Iceland, right? So all these kind of little things, and you never know what it is, but there's some kind of thing that's going to connect you, and you got to take advantage of those kind of things, and in your conversation towards those things that make you more alike than more different, and you'll see that relationship build. I personally, especially when I started out, I'm not so sure we had Facebook and LinkedIn like we had today, but I sort of now make it a sort of a habit. Unfortunately, it takes a long time now because I have so many connections, but I try to wish everybody a happy anniversary, happy birthday, some kind of greeting, just to keep them, make sure there's that connection. There's probably, you might have 1,000 contacts on LinkedIn, but you might only know 100 of them. There's 900 people that you don't know that somehow you've connected for whatever reason. Sometimes I connect with people if I'm doing a deal with them. I just want to be able to communicate with them in another way. So there's a lot of people that you might not have contacted in a long time. I have contacts I've had for, maybe 15, 20 years on LinkedIn. I haven't spoken to them since then. So this connection, just wishing somebody a happy birthday, or a happy anniversary, or congratulations on that job promotion, any kind of message, a very positive, friendly message, that message is well received all the time. Imagine yourself, somebody greets you a happy birthday. You might not know them from Adam, right? But there's some kind of reason why I connected. Sometimes you might even look, how do we know each other? I think they both tell you, LinkedIn and Facebook tell you when you connected. So now you can go back and see what you were doing, where you were, what firm you were at, where you were living, and maybe try to figure out why you're connected to that person. And by the way, so when I started doing coaching, which is what I'm doing right today, I would send out a message to everybody and then tell them that, we haven't spoken in a while. Maybe we should try to set up a time next week to catch up, right? Very friendly message. That turned out to be an amazing, positive thing for me because I had amazing conversations. Again, some people that we were just connected on LinkedIn, otherwise we didn't know each other. So that relationship, that phone call just made, we started playing, do you know everyone, because I was at this law firm, they were at another law firm, and we knew each other, people at those law firms. But we just had a very nice connection, nice relationship. There's one woman I spoke to who just lost, she was just, terminated. So she was looking for another opportunity, another job. Another woman I talked to the same week said that she needs help growing her business. She wants to step back from the day to day, and she wants someone else to come in as the chief operating officer. So I put these two women together. I mean, it's just, things happen for a reason. And so it was a great connection. It was a great, sort of example of, first of all, I called only to see how I could help them, right? So it was a very positive, very friendly. I wasn't selling at all. I wasn't trying to get their business. I'm just going out there, making connections, meeting new people, and reestablishing old relationships. It's very possible you had a nice relationship with someone. You haven't talked to them in a long time. You get this happy birthday alert from them. Either they're wishing you happy birthday or you're wishing them happy birthday, and it gives you an opportunity. So my suggestion is take that opportunity. Now, again, there might be times when you're in the middle of a deal and you're working, 12, 15 hours a day and you're exhausted and you don't have the time to do that. So one of the things, I guess, there's plenty of opportunities. There's people out there, there's videos, and you can watch my videos on business development. And you need to you have to recognize that no matter what you do, and it's not just for lawyers, but no matter what you do, you're always selling. People are always selling. They're selling their service. If you're a real estate broker, obviously you're selling. You want them to list with you, not with another realtor. If you're a dentist, you want clients, right? So people are always selling, and you just have to keep in mind that you are also part of your job. Whatever your job is, it should be sales. Because if you want to make yourself an attractive lawyer to be hired by other firms, they are going to want to know that you have the skills and the experience, but also that you maybe have a book of business. You're definitely going to get a higher compensation, a higher offering price if you have a book of business. And so again, a book of business is established clients that would follow you to another firm. So again, business development is very important for your growth and your future and for your income and your welfare, as a lawyer. So there's the ways to do business development. You can be on boards, and I always recommend, if you're going to be on a board, and if that opportunity does come to you, because it's typically these boards are exclusive. They're, it's more senior, more experienced people. But if you have an opportunity to get on a board, and sometimes there are young leadership divisions, so those are great opportunities because you can really excel at a young leadership, because again, your competition is people like people who are younger. They're probably even younger than 30 years old. Some of them might be right out of school. So they don't have the experience, the relationships that the senior people do. The people that you can imagine at the board of directors of the local cancer society or something like that. Those people have been around, and they're probably writing big checks to the Cancer Society to get on that board, right? So a lot of these organizations want to foster young development and young people that are interested in their cause. So they have young leadership boards and groups. So my suggestion is to get involved in those kind of things. By the way, so it'll have an opportunity to meet a lot of your peers. These are people, again, they're younger, they're going to be your age, and there's an opportunity for you to connect, more people for you to meet. The goal, truthfully, all the time is to meet more people, because you never know what that person could bring to you. You have one good friend that you met on one of these boards, and again, your relationship with that person does not should not be just on the board, because really when you're at the board meetings, there might be some time before the board meeting to schmooze. There might be a break that you can schmooze, or afterwards you can have a conversation. But at the board meeting, you should really be dedicated to the cause that you're at. You really definitely should not be trying to sell your legal services at that point. I think you should just try to build relationships. My strong suggestion is get on boards of things that, if you had cancer in your family, a relative had cancer, survived, or passed away, that's a connection that you have. And you take it seriously, and it's important to you because you want to find a cure for cancer because it affected you personally. So imagine other people on that board as well are probably similarly situated. So they're also going to have, and that's a conversation. It could be a very hard conversation, but that's a conversation to have as well. And that, again, bonds you and connects you. And so the point is, if you're doing something that you enjoy and something you like and something you believe in, your purpose, your cause, then you're going to enjoy being there. And it's going to show. So the other people on the board are going to see that you're always paying attention. You're curious. When they show a video of if you're on a hospital board and they show the video of the new wing that they just added, you're not going to be scrolling on your phone. You can actually be interested in watching to see what's happening. So those things, make you stand out. And the fact that you're contributing to these board, conversations, they might be asking suggestions for fundraisers, and you come up with some bad ideas, right? those bad ideas might spur someone else's good idea, or you might make the room laugh, and that's okay as well. But the point is, you're participating. There are a lot of people, and you will see this. There are people sit on boards, and first of all, they don't show up at all to board meetings, or they come extremely rarely to board meetings. So what are they really contributing, right? Now, they might be writing a check, and that is something, but that's not, they're taking a seat of somebody else that could really be participating. So it's not always the greatest thing. But people, again, if I join a board that I'm interested in, there's a reason why I connected to that board, right? So the other people, you have to assume they're also there for that reason as well. Now, it's very possible that their law firm sent them to that. It's a possibility, but most likely they're there because they share the same interest in that cause as you do. So if you're interested and they're interested, they're going to, again, there's that connection. If they see that you're not interested in your board at these board meetings, they call them board meetings for a reason, they might not be interested in connecting with you because they want people that, again, people like people who are like them. So I would suggest you get involved in things that you do enjoy and participate. And again, don't be selling your legal services. Let people know you're a lawyer, right? Just casually, whatever else. I work at this firm. They're going to know it's a law firm kind of thing. But you don't have to be selling, but also be helpful. If you find out, whether it's because of the board conversation or because of, just early, getting there early and schmoozing, which by the way is also a great idea. If you get there early, you come in and you're talking to the other people that got there early, right? There's a certain type of person that comes late. You do not want to be the kind of person that comes late. By the way, you come late to a meeting, zero chance for you to talk, right? You don't even want to say hello to the people sitting next to you because you're interrupting. You already came in late. Now you're going to make some noise and interrupt the rest of the meeting. So people usually sneak in if they're going to be late. But if you come early, it's just 5 minutes. 5 minutes gives you an entire, plenty of time for you to go around the room and to say hello, introduce yourself, ask them how they've been doing since the last meeting, anything interesting, any funny stories, have you gone to any games, whatever, your connection or your conversation piece might have been with that board member. You can have that, pick it up, continue the conversation. So, and again, there are certain people that linger afterwards. If you're rushing to get home because you have family at home, then that might not be the ideal time. But also, if you take your time leaving, you'll have an opportunity to walk to your car with somebody else, and you can have that conversation with somebody else as you're walking the car. So just get into the habit of helping people and always be available to help people. And people will know that that's the kind of guy you are. There are people, by the way, that, people know that this person's always he'll help anybody, right? So it's an investment of your time. And again, if you have a young family with kids and everything else, you're taking away time from them. But it could be minimal. You need to, sort of control your time as well as you can. But these small little investments, just being able to answer somebody's question, take a call, respond to a text or an email, those little things will carry, again, big dividends later on. So those are my suggestions. The Florida Bar, the American Bar Association, they offer programs as well that you could learn about leadership, learn about public speaking, because those things are always going to help you for your career, whatever your career is, even if you get out of practicing law. Being a great public speaker, having confidence in front of a large room is a tremendous asset no matter what you're doing. So, but they also offer different boards, different committees on the Florida Bar or the American Bar Association. And again, you could find things that you're interested in. If there's something on malpractice that you find interesting, or something about lawyer conduct or misconduct, there might be committees on, the real estate committee or the young lawyers committee, whatever their different divisions or whatever else on the Florida Bar. And typically a lot of these big organizations, Chamber of Commerce's, they would have different divisions as well. So, and this way if you're in the real estate committee or division of the Chamber of Commerce, those are real estate professionals or people who want to meet real estate professionals. So these might be real estate developers, realtors, people who do construction, do AC, things that service, the real estate field. But being a lawyer, that's also great. If you're doing title, doing closings, doing real estate law, buying and selling, leasing, all those kind of things are focused in real estate. So we're saying there's a lot of opportunities to get involved in the, young leadership groups throughout your area. The Florida Bar, if you're in Florida, obviously your own state bar, wherever you are. But the American Bar Association also offers lots of different opportunities to get involved. And just remember that Another sort of lesson as a young lawyer, I once got an assignment from my senior partner, the partner that I sort of did most of my work for. And he had the corner office, and next to him was another office from another partner, and then was my office. So when my senior partner, his name was Dan, called me in to ask me a question, I walked in there, and again, as a young associate, you come in, always bring in a pad and a pen. Make sure your pen works. And you walk in and you say, how can I help you? What do you need? Whatever else. Typically, you might not have to ask that because your partner's going to all be ready to give you the assignment. I need you to look up this. Or I need you to find the answer to retrieve this case. Or I need you to do whatever the situation is. So my partner asked me a question. So I wrote down the question and sort of turned around and got out of there. And I walked past. I mean, the doors are right next to each other. So I walked past the other partner. I was also more experienced. I was a first-year associate, so she happened to be maybe a junior to him, but she was also still a senior partner in the firm. So as I left his office, I walked into her office. And I just asked her the question. I said, by the way, any idea, what do we do in this situation? And she gave me an answer, right? She knew the answer. So I went back to my partner's office, knocked on the door and went right in. I mean, this is minutes later. And I was like all excited because, wow, he's gonna be thrilled that I got an answer. So I gave him the answer to his question. And he sat down because he was standing up. He sat down and he's like just rubbing his eyes. He said, Keith, don't you think I might have even known the answer to the question myself? I asked you the question and I wanted you to find the answer by doing research and writing a memo because you're a young lawyer. You need experience. So this was an assignment for you to learn how to do research, how to write a memo, right? So also, I can't bill a client for the 3 seconds it took you to ask her the question and come back to my office. If you sat down and did some research and, first of all, perfect and improve your research skills and wrote a memo, gave that memo to me, I could critique the memo if there's mistakes or things that you need to work on to improve your memo writing. Or if it was a great memo, you've accomplished something. I know that you do good research and you write a good memo. And now I can also bill a client. Now, I'll be quite honest with you, very frequently sort of young lawyers work that they think is sort of learning on the job. Now, again, that's between the partner and the client. And I'll tell you, the vast majority of clients do pay for that. The vast majority of clients recognize that we all need to get to learn, to get trained. So they might discount it if it took an hour for them to do a memo that the client or the partner even thinks. Sometimes the partners are very good about knocking down those hours. If it took an hour and he knows that any other associate would have taken 30 minutes, he will mark that down before he even gets to the client. But some clients do, express concern about paying for young associates just learning on the job. But that's not your problem. Your job is to get as much experience as possible. One thing, when I was at Greenberg Traurig, I think they tried to get you to work 2,000 to 2,400 hours for the year. And I put in over 2,600 hours most years. Sometimes I had 3,000 hours, which is like crazy. My personal feeling was, I wasn't getting paid more than someone else who's only putting in 2,000, even though I'm working 3,000. My feeling was, if I spent 5 years there and I'm billing 3,000 hours and that other person is billing 2,000 hours, that's an extra 1,000 hours a year. That's 5,000 hours more in those 5 years of experience, of training, of doing real legal work that I had. So technically, I had the work and the experience of a 6th or 7th year compared to the person who's only just putting in the 2,000 hours. And again, there's people who work 1,600 hours or 1,800 hours. So I never regretted at all the fact that I was working harder or more hours because I knew that it was benefiting myself, right? First of all, it's phenomenal to be working that hard and having the other partners, the other lawyers appreciate that you're working so hard, right? But personally, just for yourself, it's you have an opportunity to do more work, which again doesn't sound good initially, but if you think about it, you're only improving yourself. People go to school to learn, right? People watch videos to learn. You have an opportunity to learn on the job because every single case, every single contract, every single matter that you're going to work on is going to be different than the last one. Again, they might be 90% the same, but there's always something different, a different element, something different, different fact pattern, whatever it is. But all those things make it a different case, different matter, different job. So the fact that you can now work on different scenarios of the same situation makes you more valuable for yourself. Again, it shows you that you have more talent, more experience than someone else who is sort of doing the minimum. So I'm saying I would have a positive outlook when people give you too much work at work. Enjoy it, take advantage of it, learn. If you're doing sort of pleadings and insurance defense, maybe that extra hour you're not, adding too much to your experience and your knowledge base. But yeah. Louder. Okay. Yes. You want me to repeat it? We're good from here. Okay. So now, if again, as talking about your own development, not just business development, but your own development as a lawyer. Again, there's lots of continuing legal education classes available. A lot of them are for free. The Florida Bar puts out free CLE classes. The ABA also puts out free CLE classes. A lot of other organizations provide free CLE classes. There's a lot of lunch and learns, which are sponsored by different professional groups. It might be an accounting firm, or it might be, an insurance company, brokerage firm, whatever else, and they will provide a free CLE class. And there's opportunities for you to learn. And again, there's learning on the job that I just described, where actually if you're working really, really hard and longer hours, that's just more time that you're learning. And even, if you think about these famous stories about, Michael Jordan taking 10,000 shots, or Gretzky taking 10,000 shots in hockey. The point is repetition, right? So you build, they call it muscle memory. So the fact that you're doing something, even if it's repetitive, even if it's identical, you're doing it better and doing it, maybe doing it faster, doing it, more efficiently. I know myself, I might pull up an agreement I did last year or even last week. And when I'm changing it for the new situation, for the new client, I will find better ways to say something. I will correct my own documents. Now, there's a sort of a funny thing when lawyers are negotiating over an agreement. Some lawyers make changes to the document to show their client why they're billing them the $10,000. They just want to mark it up, so you send back a red line that shows there's a lot of changes. They might not change the quality of the document at all, but some lawyers just want to show their clients, look how much work I did. Other lawyers are more efficient, and they, if something's going to fly and they don't need to make any changes to it, then they'll just say, okay, this is fine. They'll make the corrections where it's necessary to help their client. But my point I was making is, I will pull up an agreement that I did myself that I thought was fantastic when I did it, and I will find sometimes mistakes, but just make it a better, more efficient document or whatever else. And sometimes you learn things. You might send out a draft of an agreement and the other lawyer marks it up or adds a paragraph. You say, wow, that's a really good paragraph if I was on his side. So next time when you're representing the other side of an agreement, you'll want to add that paragraph because it works for, whether it's the buyer or the seller kind of thing. So, and you have to also appreciate and understand, and some lawyers, some very, very, very senior lawyers don't appreciate. Documents should favor a buyer or seller, whoever your client is. So, whether it's if it's a settlement agreement and it's a settlement agreement between a plaintiff and a defendant, whatever your client is, that agreement should have, when you draft it, by the way, it should favor your client. It should not be this neutral agreement. And it clearly should not be on the other side. Like I did work on an agreement for somebody. Somebody asked me to review a document that he drafted. It was a purchase agreement, and he was representing the buyer. But the agreement that he used, that he started with, and one of the things I tell people, the most important part of my job is knowing which form to start with. Because from there, once you have a form, the template, then it's just negotiations. But anyway, this lawyer gave me an agreement just for my sort of second opinion. And the form that he started with was a seller's form, meaning that it had all the provisions that really protected the seller, and he was representing the buyer. So this was a very, very senior lawyer, just maybe never had that kind of concept in his mind, understanding that there's different templates. I have templates in my agreements, my folders, that are buyer forms and seller forms, employee favored employment contracts and employer favored contracts. And you always have to start with the right form. That's very good for your legal practice. So my point is that there's a lot of education out there to make you a better lawyer. Don't be nervous about doing something that you've never done before, because everybody's been there. Nobody comes out of law school knowing everything. So when you first time doing a transaction that you've never done before, there's a lot of people that have been in your shoes before, but there are resources available, by the way. So there are other associates or partners that could sort of mentor you. There are also lots of videos, whether it's on YouTube. I have a whole series of videos on YouTube that could help you in certain situations, but there are people around the bar. I know the Florida Bar also has a program where if you have a question as a young lawyer, they will provide somebody that will give you a little more senior, that will give you some advice on how to deal with a certain situation, if it's that kind of thing, or a transaction. So I invite you to look at any of the videos that I put on YouTube. But the most important thing is learning about networking is great, but actually getting out there and sort of meeting people, that's the thing you got to do. You got to get up, you have to take the action. So I encourage you, whether it's practicing this servant attitude by when you have an opportunity to see how can I help you. Start with your helping your spouse at home. Whatever else. Those are things. Just get in the mindset. Create a habit of being that kind of a person, somebody that helps people. So if you want me to personally help you with the growth of your career, whether it's as a young associate, whether it's trying to help you with the business development, trying to sort of do the right things at the law firm, there's politics at a law firm. You have to realize that. And it might be helpful to have somebody who's been there sort of hold your hand through that process so you can be the best you. Sometimes, again, there are probably more senior partners senior associates or other young partners that would be helpful for you. But there's some situations, and I know my experience, I had opportunities to leave, Greenwood Trower to go to another firm. Those are not conversations you want to have with a lawyer at the firm. That's a very sensitive thing. It's typically somebody you want to talk to outside the firm to get their advice. So those are kind of conversations you could have with, somebody like me or another coach that can help you, that cares, that their sole purpose is to make sure you succeed. And sometimes that might be suggesting that you stay with this firm. And sometimes the suggestion might be that you go elsewhere. There is concern, by the way, that somebody should point out to you, that if you're leaving the firm every other year, somebody who's thinking about hiring you is concerned about that as well, because they invest a lot in training new lawyers. So if they see somebody that it doesn't stay at a firm for a long time, they wonder why. And they're less inclined to make the investment to bring you on board. So just some advice. And again, that's why having somebody who's been there, done that, somebody has some experience, and their sole interest is making sure that you succeed. Some of your colleagues at the law firms might not. If you're an all-star at your law firm and you're sort of seeking advice from a more senior associate, that senior associate might see that you are competitive. You may be a threat to that person. So you might not be getting genuinely good advice for you. So it's just things to keep in mind and be careful about. So if you would like me to personally help you grow in your career, help you get more clients and become a better lawyer, you can click the first link in the description to book a call and apply to work for me. If we decide that you're a good fit,